Hello, beloved. Welcome, love. I'm here for day 3 of our relationship reset. Now, I'm thinking that the internet is a little bit flaky. Um, I'm hoping that it holds out. I've got some backup, but it's a little bit dodgy, I have to say. So let me know if you're on, whether the internet is holding, whether you can hear me. I'd love to hear from you. So we're on day 3 of our relationship reset. This is a very mini divine declutter. It's really about supporting you to look at, okay, brilliant. Look at your relationships globally, to focus on one. This is what we did on day 1. Day 2, we've started to look at, okay, our environment, body, heart, mind, and soul. What needs to be detoxed? What needs to be decluttered? What do we need as a minimum in order for us to be well enough to reset the relationships that we're focusing on? Day 3 is a hardcore day. It's the day where we look at what are our behaviours, what are our ways of showing up that have contributed to the situation, and what needs to be destroyed in us, what needs to be seen, destroyed, transformed, so that we can then do the second half, which is to dedicate ourselves to the steps that we want to take next. So that's what our session is about today. So I want you to have a look, if you've been on the journey with me so far, and just have a recap, a refresh on the relationship that you focused on, what came out of our session yesterday with mapping environment, body, heart, mind, and soul, and what needed to be detoxed, what needed to be decluttered. And I'm wondering, before we move on to day 3, if there's any questions that have arisen for you, any, oh gosh, what do I do about this? If there are, note the question down so that when we're finished with the content piece for day 3, you can ask the question. Or if it feels like it's stopping you from moving forward, put the question in the chat now. So let's take a breath together, shall we? Let's just settle into the body, connect beyond the boundaries of technology, distance, time zones. It's as though you could breathe into your heart, and as you breathe out into your energy field. And that energy field, you're just extending your energy field out beyond the boundaries of your physical body into your energy body. As I do the same. And we find a space where we can all overlap, all of us who are in this relationship reset, supporting one another and seeing who we are when we show up in community, in connection with others. How do we do that? And then just place one hand on your heart and one hand on your abdomen. We do this to balance the system. Yeah, balancing our system. Thank you, Catherine, for your question or your comment. Working just on friendship and connection generally makes sense. So I want to invite you right now to close your eyes. And although you may not be focusing on an individual person, I actually want you to be in the space of inviting the energy of an individual that would embody the friend, or a new friend, or an existing friend that you want a closer relationship with, or the family member. And just have a sense of inviting them to sit with you for this session, to be with you, so that it's as though you are creating the space where you're able to connect with them, to set your intention and have a conversation. In the work that I do, this is often called a soul to soul. If it's a relationship where you feel at all unsafe, just create a bubble around yourself and a bubble around the other person so that you're able to observe them, you're able to be with yourself, but no harm can come to either of you. And if it's a relationship that you're hoping to develop, but you don't know the person yet, perhaps, just allow the features of the person to be blurred. So you're not projecting onto anyone specific or a particular idea of that person. If it's somebody that you know, you can invite them, the soul energy of them. And in this moment, I want you to be aware of how you have shown up or how you are showing up in relation to this individual, this relationship that you have. How have you been showing up? What are the ways that you've been showing up that have contributed to how the relationship has developed? What are the ways that have been useful and what are the ways that have not been useful? So I'm hoping that the internet is saying it's a little bit wobbly for me to hear, but what are the ways that you've been showing up? Can you see at least one way? In our work, we talk about our 3%. You see at least one way in which you've been showing up that's not been useful and that's not been helping you to have the relationship that you want. For example, I've been doing a lot of work recently on a particular relationship, and I realized that I was being quite judgmental and I wasn't actually speaking up about how I felt and what I needed. And when I realized that I had a choice about whether I was going to continue to be judgmental or not, and I had a choice about whether I was going to continue to not speak up. As soon as I changed my way of being, my relationship with this individual changed. So if we were talking about friendships generally, because this is a piece that is in the field right now, what would need to happen? Or what's happened in the past? Perhaps you've not been as consistent in communication as you might have wanted to be. Perhaps you've actually allowed friendships to last longer than actually was good for you or another without saying, shall we evolve? Just use this next minute to reflect on how you've been showing up. Once you've got at least one way of being that perhaps hasn't been useful for you or for others, I want to invite you to write that down. highlight it. And then once you have it, reflect on how that shows up for you in your environment, in your body, in your heart, your mind, your soul. How does it show up? And this is the opportunity. The step 2 of this day is to take an action to destroy it, to say, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. So it might be that if you wrote it on a piece of paper, you might rip up that piece of paper. If you've written it on a piece of paper, you might burn that piece of paper. You might bury it. Whatever is physical action that you could take that's setting an intention and taking an action which will enable you to do something else. Once you've done that, just write in the chat for me, yes, or why, or yes. Wonderful. Thank you. So it may be that you've taken your destroy action already, or it may be that you might choose to do it. Thank you, Catherine. It may be that you choose to do it after this broadcast. But the third practice that I want to give you for today in this phase of our reset is to dedicate this to somebody else, so it becomes not about just you. So thinking of this relationship or this area of relationship that you are focused on, I want to invite you to actually think of a person. Now, it might be someone that you make up. Think of a person. It might be somebody that you know already. We're going to dedicate your new behavior to this person. So you might have people who are watching you, like you might have family members, children, nieces and nephews. It might be, well, let's take in order. You might dedicate it to yourself. Now, most of us have quite a lot of challenge just committing to a practice for ourselves and staying dedicated to it and consistent with it. If it's something that you really want to do, is keep this all about you, feel free. My experience of this work is when we expand it out so that the fruits of our practice reach others, then it gives us another level of dedication. So if we extend it out from you to a loved one, somebody that you know or in relationship with already, a friend, someone who's you're already bonded with, this can be incredibly powerful. So you have an opportunity to do that. If we were to extend it out even further, thinking about somebody that you know but isn't in your inner circle. So it could be a colleague, it could be somebody that you pass on the street regularly, it could be your neighbor. Could you dedicate a practice to this person, something that you are someone who is going to benefit from this work of your relationship reset. You might extend it out to your community, the people that you live around, the village, maybe a church or a business community. So you dedicate it. You dedicate this practice, and then you might dedicate it to the world in this a bigger altruistic purpose, a legacy, an ongoing legacy. So think about who you're going to dedicate your new behavior to. And if it hasn't come to you already, this is the last piece. The last piece is for you actually to state what is going to go in the vacuum of that which you have destroyed. What is the new way of being? So, for example, if in my example, my old way of being was to be judgmental. So, my new way of being is to be more open minded and more curious about why somebody would make the choices they would make. So I'm dedicating my curiosity and my open-mindedness. I'm gonna dedicate that actually to one of my nieces, who I think her seeing me demonstrating curiosity and open-mindedness will be of benefit to her as well as to me and the relationship that I'm working on. Does that make sense? What we're doing is moving from this being something that is purely a mental exercise into something that we are committed to practicing and embodying in ourselves. So the last and final step before I close today, before question and answers, is if there was one action that you could take that would demonstrate to you and to whoever it is that you have dedicated this practice to, what's the one action that you could take? What's the one action? And write that down. Wonderful. Beautiful. Connect to source daily. Wonderful. That's a really powerful practice. I've got a way of doing that if you want to do it through the wild wisdom. But yeah, to pray, to connect to source, to do it in whatever way you need to, a beautiful commitment, a beautiful practice to dedicate. And if you're watching this on the replay, please write in the comments what you've decided to do, what your dedication, maybe who you are dedicating your practice to, and to see how this resets your relationship and what difference that makes. So that's all that I wanted to give you for the 3-day reset. What I also built into the practice is a ritual, a ceremony, which I'm going to do tomorrow at the same time. And that will be a 30-minute ceremony. And if you haven't done your destroy action yet, or you feel like you would want to do it again, the ceremony is an opportunity to do that. It's also an opportunity to reflect on the journey that we've taken and to map out what comes next for you. I've received a download about what I can offer to support you and myself and everyone else in our community moving forward. So I will talk about that after our ceremony tomorrow. But I wanted to contain the reset in these 3 days as well, so that I know that you've got something to take away, one action. And that's enough to reset a relationship. I know this for sure. So I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for joining me live. I'd love to hear from you. What is it that you are taking away from our 3 days? And what shifts have been in you? So if you want to write in the chat, feel free to do so. There'll be an opportunity for us to connect in the ceremony tomorrow. I actually want it to be on Zoom so there can be a little bit of interaction. So there'll be an opportunity to connect with me personally after that. So for now, if you don't have any questions, I'm going to close the broadcast, close this container that I've co-created with you, and just send you so much love. Whatever comes next for you, may you thrive in love. May your relationships expand and grow and fill you with love and peace and joy. And may that ripple out to everyone whose lives you touch. So much love.